Mabuhay!
Hi! Welcome to
the Babaylan Bruja Book Club podcast.
It's your village kapwa kids, Steph
and Amy. Here we are together again, and as always, in efforts to decolonize our minds, bodies, and reconnect with spirit by ways of relation via conversation, of education, interpretation, and integration.
So, this is our invitation for you to join us on our journeys as we discuss the works of honored artists, authors, and thought leaders across the Filipino diaspora.
Quick disclaimer, we want to acknowledge that in this moment, everyone is exactly where they need to be.
And since we are not experts, yet we are sharing our own unique lived experiences, we invite you to take or toss any statements, any opinions, any words we may use as you choose.
And we are so glad you found your way here. As always, before we begin, we want to take a moment to ground. Take a pause to drop into your body and become fully present in this space. If it is safe for you, we invite you to close your eyes, straighten your spine, and direct your focus onto your breath. If you can't close your eyes, we invite you to take a look around. Just become aware of this moment, become aware of your body, become aware of the room. Take a few deep inhales, extending your belly out, and exhales, bringing your belly in. One more time, inhale and exhale. Just invite you to connect back into your body and into this moment. Don't worry about tomorrow or today. Just sink into this feeling of letting go and coming fully present. And as we begin our conversation, we'd like to thank God, Bathala, Creator, for another beautiful gathering. In gratitude, we acknowledge our benevolent ancestors and invite them into this conversation today. Thanking the ancestors of the land Stephanie and I currently occupy, knowing we cannot do our own remembrance without remembering them. For me, that is the mound builders that are the Hopewell and Adena people in Ohio. For Stephanie, that is the Bay Miwok Yokot people in the Inland Bay area of California. We also acknowledge and invite in our guides and God, Bathala, Creator, to be with us, to support and guide our conversation. We pray that they may support and guide you too. With gratitude, we also want to acknowledge your presence, energy, and light, no matter wherever and whenever you're tuning in. Hi, Sissy Sis.
Hi, sis.
Hi. Hello, Babaylan Brujas.
Yes. Hello. Hello out there in cyber land.
Hyperspace.
That too.
Yeah.
That too.
All right. So welcome back. So we were talking off camera about decolonizing heart check and how we didn't really have anything to say for that part at the moment. And we decided, we would talk about that, just kind of decolonizing our own ideas of goals and success that we put on ourselves. You set out for a goal and then you don't do it. And then you may feel a way about yourself, but it's okay.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to decolonize this decolonizing heart check by just what we want to do. And we'll start with just checking in with each other's hearts. Do you want to go first?
Sure. Should we time ourselves still? Is that a thing? Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep that rule.
Yeah. That's
compromise, right?
That's probably a good idea for us to put a timer.
Yes. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. So my heart has been So right now it is eclipse, new moon season. We're in the shadow of Mercury retrograde. So my heart is like, what the fuck
is going on?
The fuck is going on? So just a lot of shadow work coming up, and eclipse season always means sometimes can represent the ending of things, right? So just shadow work calling me in to consider, where I am in my journey, and like authenticity and integrity has been coming up a lot. So like asking myself where I am in integrity and where I am showing up authentically, or where I'm doing the thing, because we all do the thing where we're so real, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm so real right now, but we're just doing real for performance. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying like I do that like consciously, but just going, okay, like in the places that I'm showing up with the people that I care about, even in online spaces,
right?
How am I showing up? And then I saw this TikTok the other day. I was like, once you heal your inner child, your inner teenager comes up, and she is pissed. And I was like, oh my God, yes.
Hold on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That was 90 seconds. Do you want to finish your thought?
No, I'm good. Okay. So is it you?
Yeah, it's me. All right.
Okay.
I'm like fired up from that because I want to piggyback now.
Okay, ready? And go.
Yes, sis. And it's ironic because in today's chapter, he mentioned some plant medicine. I sat with some plant medicine a few weeks ago, and let me tell you, yes, that's literally what just happened. Like my inner child and I felt like merged finally, more comfortably. And then my inner teen is walking around like, why does anything matter? And all this stuff. And I'm like, sitting there some days like, is this me? Because you stop and you do the things and you check in with your, what's going on here? Heart, what's going on? And then I'm just like, oh, like my teenager is out. Like my inner, I'm getting to know again, my like inner 13 through 19-year-old and what she went through. And I guess like I never thought of it this way, right? That's part of the becoming more self-aware growth thing and the shadow work of like, what was my teen thinking and why did she think those things and why is she walking around like teens? I don't want to generalize, but it's that phase where you're just questioning things like, why does this matter? Why do I gotta do my homework? And why do I gotta go to practice? And why do I gotta and all this stuff? So yeah, that's literally my teen. Like she's out and she pops up in spaces, and my end story is just like, I'm like, oh, another phase of fragmented soul I gotta sit with. Thank you, grandmother Aya.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. Everything is okay. It's gonna be okay. So
yeah, that was 90 seconds, but thank you for sharing, sissy. But
inner teens. At the Iams and at the Steph's inner teens.
Oh shit. I feel like I mean it's good, it's difficult, right? But it's also, it just means there's another level of the spiral of healing that we're going around, right?
Yes.
So, and I feel that too, like I'm finally integrated my inner child, right?
That's the word. Yeah.
Oh, what, integrated? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she's inside there, but now oh gosh, teenage Amy needed therapy, honestly.
Yes. And Teen Stephanie needed a smack. Like, yeah, it's gonna be okay. And look, this matters more than this. Okay.
Yeah.
You'll thank me in 10 years. Promise. But it's okay. I was a teen. I cared about going to work, making money, my boyfriend.
Yep. Yep.
Riding cars with boys.
Riding cars with boys. Isn't that a movie? I was gonna say that's a movie. Yeah. Teenage Amy was lonely as fuck. I was depressed as fuck. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I probably needed a therapist.
Yeah, I needed a big sister to like come.
You needed an ate?
I needed an ate. I had them, but like, we get caught up in shit and had them around, but none of them telling me like, you're good at this and you can do this and stop trying to hang out with your boyfriend all the time. Do this stuff. But it's okay. You know, it's a hopeless romantic. But we said we were done with the decolonizing. Do you feel complete?
I feel complete. Do you feel complete?
I do.
All right. Well, Babaylan Brujas, check in with your heart. And if you need an ate Steph and ate Amy is here. So
all the times.
They're like, that's not very helpful, but I guess thank you. Okay, so here we go for some Brown Girl Cliff Notes. So the title of the chapter is DJ Qbert as Cyber Maniac Shaman. What does hip hop tricksterism have to do with traditional Babaylanism? This is written by James W. Perkins. So I'm just going to jump into the Brown Girl Cliff Notes. So who is DJ Qbert? And like literally what does hip hop tricksterism have to do with traditional Babaylanism? So Filipino-American DJ Qbert emerged in the early 1990s as hip hop's premier turntablist on the forefront of the sonic improvisation known as scratching. DJ Qbert embodied a different ethic from the beef culture resulting from MC battles and diss rap. Instead, he created a communal ethic of reciprocity where turntablists regularly shared techniques and made new scratch products available to each other. So the author of this chapter is James W. Perkinson, who is a spoken word poet and adjunct professor of things spiritual in an urban college. He describes himself in the chapter as a quote unquote repentant Euro-colonizer.
He is white.
Yes. If you're wondering, he is white, who unlearned some of his privilege. As a white man, as a white male North American, and this is his words, and an unwitting beneficiary of the entire history of colonial relations between my ancestors and the Philippine Islands since 1898, which guaranteeing my people access to Asian markets at the expense of million Filipino lives lost in resisting invasion, and more lately benefiting from Filipino labor never paid its full due over decades of working these shores as farmhands or domestics, nurses or clerks, or more distantly as call center imitators of my region's dialect, or masseuses for my tired bones when I visit the quote unquote homeland in company of my Kapampangan wife. So you may be asking, just what is it that James W. Perkinson is doing in exploring Filipino Babaylanism? And that's actually a specific question that he answers while also confessing that he knows his contribution is minor. But in the face of climate change, fossil fuels disappearing, and high extinction rates of plant and animal species, it had him asking, what are we doing here on this planet? What is a human being, a human society, a sustainable future? And as a participant in a shared dialogue on spirituality, Babaylanism for James is a question about an entire way of life, not just spirituality. So he then goes to compare DJ Qbert's scratching to something more cosmic and spiritual, akin to shamanic journeying via indigenous plants like ayahuasca, because DJs like Qbert regularly reflect that they quote unquote see far beyond what they can produce. And to the degree Babaylanism can be grasped as an upwelling of animate energy, Qbert's scratching also brings an upwelling of vital memory, channeling ancestral wisdom, combining a kapwa sensibility with his turntables and synthesizers.
Ooh.
So this chapter was a little bit all over the place for me. I don't know. What are your thoughts, sis? You have some stuff to add?
Yeah, I thought it was divine timing because, fun fact, your girl my boyfriend I was actually talking about was a DJ in high school, my inner teen. So he kind of taught me some things. And in college, I joined DJ Club. I actually have some little turntables, and sis got to witness like a little 40-minute set while we were on our retreat.
Yes.
And I actually like DJ Qbert. He's from the Bay.
Oh, okay.
He's SF native, I think. I could be wrong though, but I used to be really into his work. And when I watched him like take a turntable, go to Hawaii, sit by the beach and just spin, scratch, I was like, he's dope. So big ups to him. And it's just, again, the chapter was a little weird, but I get how, Ate Lenny and James made an attempt to like, we'll dive into it, but yeah, it's deep. It's deep, and it's also like interesting because he's a spoken word artist. And if you go to spoken word events, they just say like 4 words and it could like blow your mind of like different adjunct things going on in the world. So it was interesting that he brought up DJ Qbert and
Babaylanism.
Yes. And then like me stepping out of my comfort of like, I really love DJ, and I don't do it like out in the crowd and stuff. I could have, and maybe I will, I don't know, but I've always loved music anyway. And so mixing it was something that happened in my life. So
yeah, it was. So we had a dance party with DJ Ati Steph, DJ Steffi Steph.
Yes,
and it was fun. And like, it really is, watching anybody on the turntables, it really is like a creation in the moment.
Yeah.
Like a blending and a melding.
Oh yeah.
While keeping the flow, because you can't like.
Yeah.
So.
And trying to be cute. I was tired. I actually DJ'd on the couch, y'all. It was like a trip, driving down, and I was like, you know what? I brought all my equipment. I'm going to sit here and just mix. And then I remember looking up like 20 minutes later, and these girls were setting up the camera and then they were dancing in front of it.
Hell yeah. It was fun. It was
so maybe we'll have one soon again. Who knows? We'll let you know.
Go. So what did you think about this gentleman being not Filipino?
Yeah, I would just maybe want some more context as to his connection to Ate Lenny, because, why she picked his essay to be inserted in this. Maybe they work together because he's a professor.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but I like that he highlighted a DJ. I think it's, I wonder if he has a connection to DJ Qbert, because
maybe.
Yeah, because Qbert's dope. Like the man can scratch. Like we'll dive into it. I like there's some quotes. I mean, that's the good transition.
Yes.
Unless you wanted to share something, sis.
No. No. Yes and no. Like for a hot second, I felt a way that he was like white, and then he even mentioned like, I know that my contribution is minor. And I don't know if this is just a shadow thing that I need to sit with, but in my brain, I was like, then if you know it's minor, then go ahead and sit down. Is that wrong? I feel like, and then and I feel like there was like, the chapter was like trying to really pull. I felt all over the place for me, but we can get into it. So that is all.
And that's what spoken word does, right? Poetry.
That's like, true.
Disrupts something in you or pulls you in some type of emotion. Mm-hmm. And I think because he's an added white man, again, but that's the invitation to consider like him as exploring what this means to be human.
Yeah.
It's like, honoring the ancestral rage that comes up, because it's the decolonizing. I don't know. I'll speak for myself. Like, especially after our encounter, being discriminated because we're brown by white people, and to find that space of forgiveness. Yeah. To not penalize or put another innocent white person in front of you, see them and honor them as a human being. Like, that's a challenge. Especially when you're trying to heal from, it's the shit that people of color have been dealing with for centuries.
Okay? Yeah. And I guess too, like this specifically is this whole book is specifically for and about the Filipinx diaspora. So it's just kind of interesting to give a little spotlight to someone who is not Filipinx in the diaspora and who's just married to, which is fine. Like he has his own perspective, right?
Right.
So that, again, I fully admit that might be something that I need to sit with. Like, obviously, I have a lot of white friends. I live in the Midwest. I like,
there you go.
White people, right? And there's people, my friends just happen to be white. They're not white people, but they're people who happen to be white.
There you go.
But it's just in this particular context, I was like, why though? However, let's go ahead and dive in because he really did have a lot of good points.
Yes. Okay. And with that,
complete.
Vocab word time.
Vocab words. Oh, you should have had your turntables out.
I know, but I gotta connect it to the laptop.
And... yeah, you know, technology is a lot. So I'll go first. So we are talking about, you've heard us use the word Babaylanism. So I just wanted to highlight that word and talk about it the way that James describes it.
It's on page 209.
Yes, on page 209. Thank you, sis. So he says that Babaylanism is the Filipino sounding out of the bloodied ground. So he brings up Cain and Abel, right, from the biblical framework, and how Cain slayed Abel. And so he was saying like that Abel's blood cries out of the ground on which he was slain, according to the Genesis text that remembers him. So he was saying Babaylanism is the Filipino sounding out of that bloodied ground, whatever else it signifies and rounds out. So it echoes through a cold colonial history that has always had economic plunder as its rationale. So that is his description of Babaylanism. I feel like we haven't really come upon this word. Is it something that is like just specific to this chapter? It's probably like Babaylanic, you know, Babaylanism. Like,
yeah, and I mean, again, take their toss on what we're saying, but because it comes from a white man's perspective, some of y'all's it may not land because, you know, we live in paradoxical times. There's so many truths, but for him to, this is his interpretation.
Yeah,
that's all I have to say. So,
yeah, I just was like, what, Cain and Abel, and then we're going to Babaylanism. But again, that's just, I'm giving opinions. But you know, this is a podcast where we talk, so there's my opinion.
He literally says on page 209, like my contribution is minor but evocative, and that's what spoken word podcasts things are about, to evoke a conversation and you know, think for yourself. What do y'all think? You know what I mean?
So. Right. And so he also says like Babaylanism, like we said in the intro, is a question about an entire way of life and not just spirituality. So it's a way of life and not just like spiritual practices or rituals or prayers. It's a whole ass lifestyle that he's talking about. So that's how he sees it. Which I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah, same. I mean, because that's, I think, part of decolonizing is, you know, is the Babaylan like a shaman, or is it a lifestyle? And the shamans did live a lifestyle. So and then we don't really have like Babaylans here, and there's so many provinces and different versions and different, so it's kind of like, for me, I'm like, how do I zoom out and see what the essence of the Babaylan is?
Yes, the essence of the Babaylan. And I think that's what, sorry, it's my bad. But I was just gonna say, I think, you know, to point out the fact that we don't necessarily have specific history of the Babaylan. And, according to history and legend, the Babaylan were fed to the crocodiles, right? And so I think that's where he's coming from with this when he says that the Babaylanism is the Filipino sounding out of the bloodied ground.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like like you said, the essence, even though they got rid of the Babaylan, the essence is still there, and it's falling out. So
yes.
Yeah.
Love it.
So that's my vocab word. What is yours, Sissy?
It's shamanic percussivity.
Okay.
On page 210. I know, right? I like those type of words. It's just a little, what's the shaman percussion? Shamanic percussivity.
Mm-hmm.
So he says on page 210, the ability regularly to refigure reality under the beat of syncopation, making desperation yield beauty in spite of itself, hipped me to what I later came to call the gift of shamanic percussivity. And I think this is a version of cyber language, which he also talks about in 215, but I won't, you said one word. So, but yeah, I think for the sake of this chapter, for context, like it is a cyber language. It's like
okay. It's like specific to that subculture.
Yeah, of DJing. You're creating a cyber-ish sound, I guess, right? And this is a language term for context, because that's why I'm saying this is layers, because that's what spoken word artists do, right? They talk to like the way they like create those like hyperbolic kind of cartoons. Like I think it was a Goofy movie, right? Remember how they you remember the movie, sis?
No.
There was a spoken word cafe
way back.
Girl, I know, right? But Roxanne, the girl he liked, what his damn name? But damn Goofy, right?
Yeah.
The son. But he tried to go to the cafe where she was at, and then they had someone on stage, and they played the drum, and then he said like 2 words. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, so good!" So that's what I'm saying. Shamanic, shamanic percussivity.
And then we do one of these.
No disrespect, but seriously,
yeah.
I mean, if you think about shamanic, for those who like sat in ceremonies, shamans do have a role of, the sound and the lightings and the musics. And so bringing that into context of, as musicians too, there's a percussion, there's a working with the beats. And so as a turntablist, as he was talking about Qbert, he somehow can do that, with a turntable. And so what scratching is, you're cutting up sound and you're working with a beat. So I thought that was pretty freaking deep. I don't know. Like I could probably write about it if I wanted to, like an essay about what he's talking about. This is a really interesting chapter if y'all are spoken word artists or into DJing. And if you're like sis, you are a musician, and there's a metronome, right?
Yeah,
there's a beat you gotta stay with.
Yeah.
And so the percussion staying that while it's playing on a vinyl, and the needle is scratching in, and if you ever like sat and went to a DJ show, right?
Yeah.
And they're scratching in front of you, they have to stay within that beat, but then they're cutting up a record and you can hear different words.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, he's saying that trance, because we're in a trance. That's kind of what happens when you're in concert settings with music, right? Same thing happens when a shaman is facilitating with plant medicine, which is why he wanted that tangent about plant medicine.
Yeah. So shamanic percussivity is like a spiritual journey during a DJ set, almost like the DJ becomes the shaman and takes everyone on a journey based on the energy that he's placing. He or she, my bad, I'm just go ahead and use
or
she.
they
erase.
There's a lot of they DJs. Yes.
They, the energy that they are putting into the performance, into the room, into, you know, the art form that's being created right in front of you. Exactly. Is that what I'm getting?
Exactly. Because it is very much entrancing. But depending on if you're on anything or you're not, you're still being taken on a sensual, you're engaging your sight, your sound, you know, even just feeling it. So that's what shamans do. So with the assistance of plant medicine. Yeah. So it is very kind of dangerous, I think, to combine these. I think I think like the elders were more conservative. They'd be like, what? But I mean, it's 2022 and I think you probably wrote this 5 years ago or whatever.
I think it's 10 years ago.
Yeah. So it's bold.
I checked the copyright. And I was thinking too, you know, like that would be very powerful if someone was DJing with the intention of doing something spiritual, right? Of like taking people on a spiritual journey. So I remember, like, you know, you just go, you know, back in the day, you went in the club and that felt like I wouldn't put the words to it back then, but it was a spiritual experience. You know, everybody's feeling the same beat, dancing on the same beat. And there's like an energy there. Yeah. There's the whole ass something that is happening there that just makes you like, I don't know, ascend or transcend your situation, right?
Yeah. So, you got a long week. You want to have some beers, a cocktail, go dance. I mean, whatever your prerogative is, you're still letting something loose.
Yeah.
So,
okay, cool. Yeah. Well, thank you for that. Are you complete with the vocal? Okay. Okay, so let's go into our quotes. Ate Steph, you want to go first?
If I could have DJ, it'd be like quotes. Wiki. All right, 2:11 to 12. I wanted to start at the part that says scratch, because that's what Qbert is really known for. So scratch is here a technique of conjure, divining below the surface of machine culture, probing the possibilities of sensation released when substances newly minted by an industrial design are brought aggressively together in rhythmic incantation. He kind of talks about the natal, going into the vinyl, and he kind of cites ayahuasca. But the quote I wanted to end with, he says here, like Amazonian yahe drinking, which is another word for grandmother Aya. I guess there's 72 Amazonian cultures, by the way, that drink ayahuasca, and they refer it differently. But he talks about the peoples of, I want to give him a shout out really quick. Dang, they're called, starts with an S, Shipibo people of the Amazon. I'm familiar with the Hunikuan tribe, but there's a Shipibo tribe mentioned in here. But coming back to that, he says, like the Amazonian yahe drinking shaman, silently orchestrating the undultating, landscapes of color experienced by their yahe tripping clients. As we shall see below, sight and sound are here pulled apart and pulled together outside grammatical structure, letting the world be reassembled as if in Genesis again. This is perhaps the essence of healing, unlocking energies of meaning through entropic logics of pain and repetitive modes of self-destruction and rendering them available for recreation.
Woo!
Yeah, it's a whole word. I was like, okay, go ahead. Spoken word man, professor.
It's a whole word.
Because I mean, that's deep. Like if you could just be watching a DJ scratch, but he's really breaking down. Like you could say a sentence like, my name is Amy, and he can, if you got the beat going, you'd be like, my name is Amy, right? It's like, so as the listener, you're like, oh shit, like that one sentence is being broken down. And I feel like we're trying into this decolonizing journey. We're like, okay, like for me, like I'm a 34-year-old Filipino-American, and what have I been doing? And now I'm like scratching up my own remixing my own version of what it means to be Filipino American, and
okay,
remixing it, right?
So Babaylanism can be like the remixing of, like, respectfully, like remixing as in like we're trying to remember and trying to integrate. It's the integration of the pre-colonial into our modern day times or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's a gateway, I think, activating word as to what, again, it's because everybody has different perspectives, especially when it comes to something as sensitive as decolonizing as a Filipinx American or whatever. There's even folks who don't agree with the word Filipinx. Like, that's okay. That's your own remix. That's if you were on DJing and you were scratching your own thing. It's going to sound different versus if you stepped up, right? And you did your own thing. It's still going to come together in the end, but it's going to be sounding different. And that's what makes everybody different.
That's deep. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. And I love how he's saying, like, the last thing that you read, like, this is perhaps the essence of healing, unlocking energies of meaning from entropic logics of pain and repetitive modes of self-destruction, and rendering them available for recreation. And it just reminded me of like the healing spirals, right? Like you keep meeting things over and over again, but it's just a recreation every time you're meeting it, just a different way, right? Oh my gosh. And the turntables go around.
Yep. And you're like stopping it, you're starting it, you're breaking it apart, sentences, you're remaking it, and it still sounds like it's coming together in the end, because it's still going to come full circle.
Right, because it's a circle. Wow. Okay. So, Sissy, do you scratch?
I try to. My ex taught me like this is spider hands.
Yeah.
So it's like you got the I don't even know the term. See, I'm saying like it's just the thing that you move, the mixer thing from one turntable to the other turntable.
Okay.
And you got your thing, the table 1 and 2, and you're just letting it play, but you're cutting it, like, so you're making it come in and out and in and out.
Okay.
Playing. So depending on what your healing journey is, you're going in and out of.
Whoa, that's deep. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh. And you can break down a whole ass sentence and like just like my name is Imi, and you could be like, what is like, what does that mean?
Yeah, you can literally mix
is. What does that mean?
Is. It can say it is for like 30 seconds. You can cut I me into like so many small segments, like I me, like, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, I never looked at DJing that way, so I appreciate your perspective. This helps me kind of understand what he was saying a little bit.
Yeah. He's definitely an artist.
Yeah, definitely an artist for sure. So, are you complete?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
All right. So my quote was from the very last page, and how he ends it. And he ends it very spoken word like. And he says, and it is indigenous notions and animal motions and plant potions that offer the living script that requires a response of translation and transfiguration. Will we learn to dance like an Igorot echo of the gecko crawling up hauntingly inside all of our dreams? Or simply ensure the coming of the impending collapse by eagerly returning to our shopping once we've finished reading the book? So I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's literally like a scratch. Like we just talking super deep, and now we coming back to like, oh dang, I'm gonna close this book and like go order some socks.
Yeah. Well, that's what one of the things that was really hitting me was he was talking about, you know, our planet, Mama Gaia, just in SOS mode, right? Like there's so much happening on this planet right now. And so it's like, what is it? What are we doing here?
Why does this matter?
Thank you, teenage Steph. And so he is just talking about like, I feel like what he was asking was sometimes what I ask is like, can I fully decolonize as someone who lives with privilege in the United States of America, as like whatever your opinion is on what's going on? Can I fully decolonize? What does that look like? What does my decolonized self look like? And I feel like that's what he's saying. He's like, what does it mean to be human? Like I'm in a suburb. After I can close this book and forget about it and go order socks on Amazon, like you just said, or whatever, you know, like, what does it mean? It has to be more than just an aesthetic. Like decolonization has to be more than just an aesthetic or a quote you post on Instagram. Like, what are we doing as a lifestyle? Babaylanism as a lifestyle.
Come on, tell them.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like like you said, it's about an entire way of life, not just a spirituality. And I, you know, like, I feel like the more that you dive, that's how everyone starts. Like you search out Babaylan because you want to decolonize your spirituality. And then before long, you know, you're following your moon cycles and giving your moon blood back to the ground.
Yes. Come on. I was just going to say, when you were like, who am I to decolonize? I was like, listen, I have decolonized enough to know I like a porcelain throne. Okay. I think, was it the Europeans who brought that? Like, thank you. Like, I don't, if I got to go in the natures and pee and poop and all that stuff, okay. Because my ancestors did it. It's fine. Yeah. But do I like a water system? Yeah. Doing that? I do.
Yeah.
Okay? I do.
Yeah. We were hiking somewhere and they had what's called a long drop toilet, which is, you know what I'm talking about? Like, it's just a toilet and it's a long ass drop and it just like, you know, it's just in the ground or whatever. And there was like flies and shit and all. I was with my friends who happened to be white and I was like, I got to go to the bathroom. They're like, there's one right there. I was like, hold it. They're like, why? I'm like, listen, my ancestors did not overcome all that they did and led me here to America for me to poop or to pee in some fucking hole in the ground, because that's what they did.
I can't do it.
I'm not disrespecting my ancestors.
I can't. I own it. I'm colonized. I'm colonized there. Judge me. I don't care. Like, I thought you were gonna say when we were at the Golden Gate Bridge. Remember, you're like, "Is this you want to go to that bathroom?" And I was like, "Oh, it's a long drop." Nope. So we went to the bathroom. And I was like, "I'm gonna hold it." Mm-mm.
Yeah. But anyway, but that's what I'm saying. So like, it is a lifestyle, right? And I think even in this podcast, from just our own personal conversations and journeying, like, there are certain things that we've added to our lifestyle or subtracted, whatever, because of our decolonization journey that we might not have done last year this time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, the moon thing. Sorry, I just want to end the shit piece. Like, if you're going to decolonizing, be loving me on a porcelain throne, consider your toilet paper usage. Like,
there we go.
Can you work with a duvet, or can you use the tabo? Okay.
Tabo,
like
tabo.
That's why when the shortage of toilet paper crisis was happening, like, Filipinos or Asians, they weren't tripping, because all you gotta do is just cleanse yourself or take a shower. I mean,
like, just
save some paper. You know, that helps.
Yeah. So there are things, you're right. No, but coming back, like, we don't have to all literally live like our pre-colonial ancestors. We can live here, but integrate the thought process of what they thought about, like with kapwa and being close, taking care of the land and seeing ourselves in the other, you know. So that's a great point. But that's what I appreciated. What all of the things that he said, it was very much a journey. That was a journey, that chapter.
Yeah.
It was a journey, but I like where he ended, kind of like, okay. Yeah. After everything is said and done, basically, like, what are we doing to to have decolonization as a lifestyle.
Yes.
Versus just like something to say, because it's kind of not trendy, but like that word is popping up
It's
everywhere.
buzzing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a buzzword, right? So, and just try not to use that word as a buzzword, but as like a way of life, you know?
Yeah, walk with integrity with it. If you're decolonizing and you want to hashtag that, at least be kind of showing up in your own space. It doesn't have to be publicly, right?
Exactly.
But part of decolonizing I want to share, just to also acknowledge, as we acknowledge the original gatekeepers and ancestors of the lands we live on, is the original creator of scratching, which was DJ Grand Wizard Theodore. So I appreciate that James brought it back and cited that it was actually a Black man in New York in the 1970s that accidentally scratched. He was like, I guess, moving his table, and then the needle scratched, and that's when scratching was born. So
amazing.
For the record, fun. It was Grand Wizard Theodore who discovered scratching. And so since then, obviously, like any other art form, it's been evolved through the decades. So I just want to give Grand Wizard Theodore a shout out. Because
thank you
James,
for doing that.
Yeah, James, it wasn't Qbert who coined scratching, but he exemplified it in a way in the Filipinx community. It was a nice representation.
I love that he just like moved his table and happened to scratch, and then it became like a whole ass thing.
Yeah.
So it's like poetic, like, you know, the mistakes that you think you are doing could not be mistakes at all, but like really something beautiful and creative and like something that resonates with people, right? So so yeah, Babaylan Brujas, just
Babaylan Brujas. Yes.
Encourage you to.
Those are remix. Sorry, sis, I cut you off. Sorry.
No, that's okay. I was gonna try to say Babaylan Brujas in a record scratch way, but I can't. I'm not even gonna try.
We do that already, like brew brew. We call each other brew brew.
Yeah, brew brew.
That was with Crystal.
Yeah.
Came up with that. Brew brew.
So I just wanted to say, as we kind of close up, just invite you, Babaylan Brew Brews, to ask yourself, you know, that's why we do that decolonizing heart check. Like, just ask yourself how you're sitting in integrity with, you know, Babaylanism, with decolonization. And it doesn't have to be like this huge dramatic thing. But like just encouraging you to continue your healing, just your healing spiral. So
yeah, get curious as you connect to your roots and, you know, cut up your own version of who you are. It's okay.
Yes, I love that. Okay, sissy. Well, I am complete.
I am too. Okay. So as we end our conversation and close out this container with gratitude, once again, we recognize and honor all the ancestors of the lands that we all occupy, Mama Earth, Father Sky, all the seen and unseen, guides that reside with us in all ways and always. Thank you for joining our conversation today. And as always, Amy and I leave you with a blessing. As you continue on this brave journey of decolonization, constantly breaking apart and coming together again to your own genesis, may you continue to reimagine, reframe, remix, and retell your own story, your own Filipinx story of resistance and survival. Knowing that your intuitive innovation is all a part of your own indigenous legacy. May the remembrance of kapwa, knowing that we are all interconnected, continue to grow and anchor you into your heart. And until we meet again, may you know that all is well and will be well. And know what happens, you are so loved.